I'll keep this as short as possible. I, 25-year-old female, am pregnant with the baby due in a couple of days. My husband, 25-year-old male, promised that he would be the one to drive me to the hospital and that he will be glued to the phone until birth. He works only 10 minutes from our home, and his boss agreed to let him go when the birth happens. The problem is my mother-in-law. My husband and her have an unhealthily, in my opinion, strong bond, and she is overly involved in our relationship, which has caused many issues in the past. She requires his attention every day. She has suggested moving in with us ever since I became pregnant. She also has emergencies. Whenever we have anniversaries, important occasions like my birthday, etc. As the date is approaching, I became increasingly worried that his mother will have an emergency during birth, and I will have trouble getting to the hospital or will be forced to be alone during... I voiced my concerns, and it caused fights between me and them. I even suggested asking my best friend to drive me and keep me company, as I'm scared of giving birth. But it was shot down with, "How can't you trust your own husband?" So I'm not proud of it, but I faked giving birth yesterday. I called my hubby at work, told him it started. He said he will be right there. After half an hour, I called him to ask where he was, and he didn't answer. After almost an hour, he called me to say he is at the hospital with his mom because, guess what, she is having a medical emergency. Apparently, he called her to tell her I am giving birth, and she got a heart attack from excitement. He said he will have to miss my birth and actually asked me to call my friend to drive me and stay with me. I admit I was very angry and heartbroken, so I told him I wasn't actually giving birth and that it was a test that showed me how he would actually behave versus what he said he would do, and that it proved he would always care for his mother more than for his own wife who is carrying his child. He was very angry and even blamed me for his mother's heart attack in that moment. His mom, of course, didn't have a heart attack but a false alarm. I felt very justified, but now that we talked, I feel guilty. He said he feels manipulated and gaslighted, that just because his mother lied about the emergency doesn't mean I should lie to him. He said that marriage is built on trust, so I have to trust him instead of lying to him to prove a point. He even said that he didn't choose his mother over me, but chose a bigger emergency, and that he knew I could handle getting to the hospital, but his mother needed him more, and that a heart attack is more serious. I pointed out she lied, but he said he couldn't have known that, and that I was just as bad for lying. I feel like I'm going crazy. Am I the idiot? Edit. Just because I don't want to be misunderstood. I did what I did because I am terrified to give birth alone. My friend would have to ask for a day off in advance, so she'd have to know that she is needed before I actually get contractions. My mom died in childbirth, and I don't want to be alone during the scariest moment of my life. Even if I am TA, I think this gave me the push I needed to get my ducks in a row. And my friend already asked for a couple days off to be there when I need it. I'm just so scared. Edit 2. To answer a common question, why did you marry him? Wasn't he putting his mom first from the beginning? I suppose it is a fair question, but it was never that bad. Well, now it is so. But when we first started, it was lovely. His mother was barely a footnote in our relationship because we were at uni and far away. I suppose my greatest mistake was agreeing to move into his town versus moving into mine. I come from a town on an opposite side of the country. Our uni was in the middle, so to speak, and his mom, while nosy and controlling, was far away and very easy to write off. When we got married, we moved into his town for logistic reasons. He already had a job lined up in his town. I didn't. We have been living here for 1.5 years, and it has gotten progressively worse until now. When he isn't in contact with her, he is a good partner, but when you add her into equation, he becomes a different person. Even his friends see it and asked me about it. Right now, I want to focus on my baby, but after birth, I think I will have to rethink our life together. I just can't spend the rest of my life in a triad with his mother. Also, I'm sorry for mostly not replying to anyone. I'm emotionally exhausted. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1, not the idiot, your husband is gaslighting you. He is saying you broke trust within the relationship when in reality he has been the one who is untrustworthy. You can't trust him to care for you in an emergency. He will always put his mother before you. You are right in what you see. And I'm sorry you are going through this, especially when you are about to give birth. He is flipping the script and trying to make you look crazy and selfish. You are not crazy or selfish. Never mind his mother, who is definitely an AH. He is the issue here. He is who you have to rely on in sickness and in health, and you've proven he can't be relied on. Do what you need to do to protect you and your baby, OP. He won't. Comment 2. I'd probably start preparing for a life of single motherhood. You and your child will always come second to his mother's histrionics. How dare he accuse you of gaslighting him when he just got back from abandoning you for his mother's fake heart episode? Sounds like she has main character disorder, where she can't handle the spotlight, especially where her son is concerned, being on anyone else except her. Just get your friend to be your birthing partner and let him know after the baby is born that he is a dad and that divorce papers are in the mail. If you can't rely on him, so what is the point of continuing on with him? Now, for the update. Thanks for sticking around for the update. Well, the baby came. And let me tell you, it was pretty hard on us. I was home alone when the contractions started, and guess who didn't pick up his phone? My husband. I ended up calling my friend, who rushed over and drove me to the hospital. Turns out my husband was with his mother again, who claimed she had another emergency. This time she said she fell down the stairs. When he finally showed up at the hospital, he found me in the delivery room, mid-labor, with my friend by my side. He tried to apologize, but I was beyond listening. I was hurt, but I had to focus on giving birth. After our baby was born, healthy and screaming, I thought we could put everything behind us. But no, the drama was just getting started. The next day, my husband's mother showed up at the hospital, all smiles and no sign of injury from her supposed fall. She wanted to hold the baby, but I was hesitant. My friend, who had stayed with me, suggested we should have some time alone as a new family. That's when my mother-in-law lost it. She accused me of keeping her grandchild from her and said some pretty unforgivable things. My husband, to my shock, took her side. He said I was being unreasonable and that I should let her hold the baby. I felt betrayed. It was like a slap in the face. I couldn't believe he was taking her side after everything. My friend was furious on my behalf and told him off, saying he should be supporting his wife and newborn, not his manipulative mother. That's when he dropped the bombshell. He said he wasn't sure the baby was even his because of my lying about the fake labor. I was stunned into silence. How could he say such a thing? My friend, bless her, didn't miss a beat. She reminded him that he was the one who had broken my trust first by not being there when he promised. She also pointed out that his mother's constant emergencies were too convenient to be true. That's when things took an unexpected turn. My husband's best friend, who had come to visit, overheard everything. He pulled my husband aside and they had a heated discussion outside my room. Turns out, his best friend had known about the mother-in-law's antics all along. She had been calling him too, asking him to lie for her, to say she was really hurt or really sick so my husband would come running. He had enough and told my husband the truth, that his mother had been lying and manipulating him to keep him away from me. My husband came back into the room, looking like he'd been hit by a truck. He apologized, said he didn't know, that he felt like a fool. He begged for my forgiveness, but the damage was done. I told him we needed space to figure things out. I asked him to leave the hospital room. So, here I am, with my newborn and my incredible friend, trying to wrap my head around everything. My husband has been calling nonstop, but I'm not ready to talk. I need to focus on my baby, on being a mother. I'll deal with the rest later. For now, I'm just grateful for my friend, who has been my rock through all of this. Thanks for reading. My boyfriend chooses his deceased friend over me, so I sell all her belongings he's been hoarding and make him watch, as I donate the money to uterine cancer research. My boyfriend and I have been dating for 2 years now. He had this childhood friend that he was extremely close with. They were attached at the hip, vacationed together, and had holidays together. When I met them, I originally thought they were together, but he assured me they were incompatible, so now they are just friends. So we started dating, but he kept prioritizing her over me. He would tell her everything, text her every day, and kept mentioning her. I told him it made me feel inferior and insecure. I didn't like how close he is to her. After some arguing and pleading, he agreed that he was putting me second. He said he'll talk to her, tell her he wants to focus on us. After that, their interactions stopped. A week ago, one of their friends texted him to let him know that she had uterine cancer and died a few hours ago. My boyfriend became a completely different person after that. He became kind of manic. He ran to meet with their friends, demanded to know who was handling her funeral and apartment and possessions. She had no family left, so they were thinking of splitting the responsibility. He strong-armed them into letting him help. They relented, and next thing I know, he's spending every day in her apartment. He took time off work and just spends hours in there. I got worried, so I asked his friends for her address and went to check on him. I thought he was packing up her stuff and throwing things out, cleaning. But he wasn't. Instead, he was going through her things, reading her journals. Apparently, she's been journaling since she was small. He even began trashing her apartment to find her laptop's password. He claims that she had trouble remembering stuff like that, so she would write them down and stash them around the apartment in little hiding places. And he knows that password is around somewhere. I had it when he started asking me if I can call Best Buy and see if their Geek Squad will unlock the laptop for him. I started begging him to stop and to just take a moment and pause. I tried telling him how irrational he was acting. He blew up on me, started yelling at me, screaming about how all this was my fault. How none of this would have happened if I just let them keep hanging out. How he read her journals, and how he knows the reason why she stopped talking to him was because he told her I was feeling insecure, and how she tried reaching out when she got diagnosed, and called to see if he wanted to do dinner. He cornered me and asked me if I remember throwing a fit at her invitation, and begged him not to go. So he declined by telling her that I wasn't comfortable with them hanging out anymore. And then she just disappeared after that. Apparently, she took that to mean no contact ever and just kept her cancer diagnosis hidden from him. She even asked their friends not to tell him. And they respected her wishes. And because he was respecting my selfish wishes, he wasn't there for her, and she died alone. Next thing I knew, he was throwing me out of her apartment, telling me to never go there again. He doesn't want me in her space. He needs time, and he won't be going home for a while. I'm so confused and hurt. I don't know what to do. Was this really all my fault? Edit, please stop telling me my relationship is over. My boyfriend only asked for time and has never mentioned breaking up. We are together in every sense of the word. We live together. Both our names are on the lease. We pay bills together. We have a life together. We are not breaking up. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Wow, you're the idiot. Expect to get broken up with over this. You don't have a right to be confused and hurt. Stop whining. You did enough of that when you ruined their friendship over your jealousy. You were so insecure you wouldn't even let him go to dinner? What the F is wrong with you? Get therapy before you sabotage the next relationship you're in. He backed off, she backed off, and you were still threatened about her. While it's not your fault she got cancer, it is your fault he didn't get to say goodbye. It is your fault he didn't get to be there for her and spend final moments with her. It is your fault she made even their friends hide it from him. You're selfish and jerk and everything else he's called you. Grow up. You don't deserve to be in a relationship until you fix your insecurities. He will break up with you, and it is your fault why. Comment 2. Regarding your edit. Even though you may think you're not going to break up, simply because you don't want to and for a string of legal reasons, your boyfriend may very well want to after his break. I sincerely hope you would respect his decision if he were to tell you he wants to break up. Now for the update. Thanks for all the comments on my last post. It's been a rough few days. So, after my boyfriend threw me out of his friend's apartment, I went home alone. I couldn't stop thinking about everything. I felt terrible. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. I just wanted to feel like I was important to him, you know? But now, it's like I'm the villain in his story. I tried to give him space, but after 2 days, I couldn't take it anymore. I went back to the apartment. I had to see him, to talk to him. But when I got there, the door was open. I walked in and found him sitting on the floor, surrounded by her journals and photos. He looked up at me, and for a second, I thought he was going to yell again. But he didn't. He just looked so lost and sad. He told me he found her laptop password. It was taped under a drawer. He'd been reading her emails. She had been in touch with a clinic overseas, trying experimental treatments. She was so hopeful, right up until the end. He said he wished he'd been there for her, to support her. I didn't know what to say. I just sat down next to him. We didn't talk much. We just sat there for hours looking at her things. It was like he was trying to find a piece of her that he could hold on to. The next day, he went to the funeral home to help plan the service. I offered to come, but he said he needed to do it alone. I understood, but it hurt. It felt like he was pushing me away. I went to work, but I couldn't focus. I kept thinking about him and her. I remembered the first time I met her. She was so vibrant and full of life. I felt a pang of jealousy back then, seeing how close they were. But now, all I felt was sadness. When I got home that night, he was there. He said he'd been to the funeral home and picked out a nice urn for her ashes. He seemed calmer, more like himself. But there was still this distance between us. We sat down and had the first real conversation since everything happened. He apologized for blaming me. He said he was just angry and hurt and didn't know where to direct it. I apologized too. I told him I never wanted to come between him and his friend. We talked about her, about the memories they shared. He smiled a little, telling me about their childhood adventures. It was nice to hear him talk about her with love instead of pain. But then he said something that shocked me. He told me he was thinking of moving out. He said he needed some time to grieve and figure things out. He promised it wasn't the end for us, but he just needed to be alone for a while. I felt like my world was falling apart. I didn't want to lose him, but I knew I had to let him go, at least for now. So, I agreed. I told him I'd be here when he was ready to come back. He moved out the next day. He's staying at a friend's place. It's been so quiet without him. I miss him so much, but I hope this time apart will help him heal. And maybe when he's ready, we can start to rebuild what we had. Thanks for reading. My wife hides her face when talking and it drives me crazy. So I ask her to stop and she slaps me. But when I find out she's cozying up to my best friend, I make sure they both learn the true meaning of loyalty. My wife gave birth to our daughter 6 months ago, and since then she has been insecure about everything. She is smaller now than she was before she got pregnant, but it's nearly a daily occurrence that she's calling herself fat. Because of this, she has developed an incredibly irritating habit of putting her shirt over her mouth constantly. You hardly ever catch her with her shirt on normally. She's basically trying to hide her incredibly small, double chin. I have told her several times to keep her shirt away from her mouth when she's speaking to me. I need to see people's mouths to hear them properly. My hearing is perfect, but I have sensory issues. So if I can't physically see you mouthing words, my head cannot comprehend what you are saying to me. So if I ask her a question and she responds with her shirt over her face, I cannot understand a single freaking thing she says. And it's beyond infuriating because I have to ask her to repeat herself 3 or more times. So I started telling her to get her shirt off her face when she's talking to me, because I'm sick of this repeated cycle. I understand she's insecure, but I can't freaking hear you. For the past 2 weeks, it really amped up. She's buying extra large shirts and wears them always, to a point where she's even covering the lower part of her face when we have intimacy, as well as pulling the shirt down to cover her stomach. Well, 3 nights ago we were intimate and I tried pulling the shirt away from her face and she kept pushing my hand away. I tried again a 3rd time and she pushed me off her and said, "Stop freaking touching my shirt," and went to sleep on the couch. And then today I was running late for work. The power went out at some point and my phone died, so I didn't wake up to an alarm. I'm trying to rush around to get my work shoot together and I ask my wife where my keys are. She grumbles a response. I yelled and said, "How about you take the freaking shirt out of your mouth or don't speak to me at all?" and physically pulled the shirt away from her mouth. She immediately backhanded me across the face, quite possibly as hard as she could, and screamed directly in my face. I said, "Don't freaking touch my shirt. Find your own freaking keys, jerk." I leave, flabbergasted. Texted her all day, starting from me saying I can't believe she hit me to eventually me apologizing hours later. No response. When I got home, all of her important stuff and the baby stuff are gone. A letter on the counter saying she had gone to her mother's. Now, I talked to my buddy about it and he said he's 50-50. He's also good friends with my wife and says that while she shouldn't have hit me, he probably would have done the same thing because I purposely provoked her insecurities. Am I the idiot? ETA. She's in therapy and has been for a month. Therapy won't fix the fact that she thinks she's fat. She had body dysmorphia prior to even becoming pregnant, and now it's just amped up. She also has sensory issues, just like I do. But hers is in regard to people touching her face hair, hence why she backhanded me. But I'm tired of never being able to hear what she says. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. You keep repeatedly physically pulling her shirt down. She has repeatedly told you to stop doing this. You did it again while yelling at her. Yeah, she shouldn't have slapped you, but you were repeatedly told to stop touching her in that way and you kept doing it. Edit, OP's comments are not pretty. It's comments. Anger management issues, wife was holding a baby at the time. Yeah, changing my everyone sucks here to a straightforward, you're the idiot. Comment 2. Leaning towards, you're the idiot. But I can't shake off the feeling that there's something missing, like the reason she's so terribly insecure. Not once in your post did you show any concern for her or curiosity about the potential reasons for her behavior. It's just you, your annoyance, and your entitlement. Speaks volumes. Now, for the update, thanks for sticking around for more updates. So things have been pretty hectic since I last wrote. My wife's been at her mom's, and I've been trying to figure out how to fix this mess. I've been calling her, leaving messages, but she's not picking up. I even went over there, but her mom said she didn't want to see me. I get it, I messed up, but I'm just trying to make things right. Meanwhile, my buddy, the one who's friends with both of us, has been acting weird. He's been avoiding me, not returning calls. I thought he was just busy, but then I found out he's been hanging out with my wife at her mom's place. It hit me like a ton of bricks. I couldn't believe it. This guy, who I thought was my friend, is over there comforting my wife while I'm out in the cold. I tried to confront him about it, but he just shrugged it off, saying he's just being there for her. But I can tell there's something more going on. He's always had a thing for her, even before we got together. I guess I should have seen it coming. Work's been a nightmare too. I've been so distracted I messed up a big project. My boss was furious, said if I don't get my act together, I'm out. I can't afford to lose my job, especially now. I need to support my daughter even if she's not with me. I've been talking to a therapist, trying to work through my own issues. She says I need to learn to communicate better, to control my anger. It's hard though. Every time I think about my buddy and my wife, I just see red. But then yesterday, something happened. I was at the grocery store and I saw my wife. She was alone, no sign of my buddy. I approached her, real careful-like, and we talked. She said she's been thinking a lot, that she's sorry for hitting me, but she's still hurt by what I said. I told her I'm sorry too, that I miss her and our daughter like crazy. We talked for a long time, right there in the middle of the store. It felt like we were finally getting somewhere. Then she said something that floored me. She's pregnant again. We weren't planning on it, but it happened. She's scared, and I am too, but it's also kind of a wake-up call. We need to sort this out for our family, so we made a plan. We're going to start going to couples therapy, work on our issues together. It's not going to be easy, but I'm willing to do whatever it takes. I love her, and I want to be there for her and our kids. As for my buddy, I don't know what's going to happen there. I feel betrayed, but right now my family's more important. I need to focus on us, on getting better. Thanks for reading. If you liked this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day!